What's up, everybody? Peter X is so Coffer here, and welcome to Three Things for the Month. So, yeah, this show I usually do when I find some interesting topics, but are kind of short that wouldn't take up a whole episode. Start off doing it monthly, then bi-monthly, and hey, this will cover July, August, and September. So I'm gonna do my three things, but I ran across an article yesterday and yahoo.com put it out on Sunday, October 12th. So I just had to put this in here and I'll put it, it's not one of the three things, but I wanted to start off with this and I will make mention of it in the synopsis. But there's I guess mass produced podcasts that's starting using AI. And I'm just putting it out there, just an FYI. I every so often I circle around and hit the latest in AI and music. But since I podcast, I'm gonna hit that now too, since that's coming. So the companies, there's about four companies: Audio Overview, 11 Labs, Wondercraft, and Inception Point. I guess Inception Point is kind of the doing the cutting edge stuff here. And basically, what it is they create shows from documents and inputs that can mean a lot of things. But I could see them putting in some titles or topics they want to cover, and then having Chat GPT, do a script, and then do an audio off the script. There's quite a few things now on in YouTube where the audio, it's too smooth to be human, and so that that's going on, and some of the stuff is still good. It's still really good. I still listen to that stuff, even if it's off a script fed to an audio a voice audio generator. So that's going on. Just FYI, my thing is take the there's good and bad with everything, and this is just the times that we live in, and so I'm gonna continue doing what I do with for my love of music, AI or not. And folks who find me. Folks who like me, and if they want AI stuff, then hey, more power to them. But and as I said, I know I've learned some stuff off of AI generated podcasts on YouTube. So I'm not gonna go out there and down it and smash it. The other major thing is that the major podcast platforms are not requiring disclosure right now. I know, and Inception Point does disclose that it's essentially AI, and I guess it's pretty realistic. I mean, I've only listened to some on YouTube with just one person, but they'll get multiple people up there and banter and whatever. So hey, it's the times we live in. You don't have to pay the host and whatnot. It's cheap, and if it's good information that's getting out there, I mean, it is what it is. But a lot of folks are going to be sweating because there's a lot. I mean, this is the big growing field now. I mean, there used to be big money in Hollywood, but and SAG and some of the other unions tried to turn the spigot on AI, but they're getting around it. Actors are having problems finding jobs. I know the other big thing is that this wasn't covered, but you had to bring in human beings to sync up um, you know uh, voices and overdubs and with lips, and now you can just click a button and do that. The other big thing is special effects. AI is a lot quicker and just as good with special effects. You don't have to get into the nitty gritty and whatnot, and write a bunch of code for an exploding building. So everything is changing. So anyway, so The three things of the month. Number one will be top line, and it's just doo-wop repackaged. That's one. Two, I'm going to talk about the Rolling Stones and how, unlike the Who and the Beatles, when they went back to the roots of rock and roll, they went back to the roots and not the second generation. And then I'm going to do a tribute to the Go-Go's. That'll be my third thing. So, top lining. So, what is top lining? Well, Michael Jackson, I mean, top lining's been around for a while. Part of it is sometimes, a lot of times, songs were written and then, without lyrics or without even the title. I mean, for Yesterday by the Beatles went 6 months without a title, but they had the recording and was Paul or John going da 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 da. So that's top lining, and it's used a lot more now because though when the big stars Beyonce, I don't think Taylor Swift does a lot of top lining, but Beyonce, Rihanna is pretty famous for using top lining, and her, she works very closely with one of the big top liners, Esther Dean. But they'll take these lines now. Not only will they do the vocals, but they'll also do melody lines, humming them, and then they'll turn that into a guitar or a piano run, piano chords, or some sort of synthesizer line. And it's the same thing that they happened back in that when when doo wop came up. I did the whole episode in doo wop. When I'm talking about doo wop, it's a little different than the barbershop quartets because the quartet is harmonizing, singing doo wop. You have folks there doing the instruments, not the drums usually, but you have a bass line, you have a melody, and you might so what the doo-wop groups, they figured out, they sang all, most of the major things, and they went in the studio and then sang it to the musicians, and the musicians played what they sang. Michael Jackson, that he got writing credits for that, and he was famous. That's how he would get a little tape recording like da na da na na da na 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 da na 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 da na 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 na. And he would, here you go, Quincy Jones, and they would turn it into a song. And so, if you're Michael Jackson, you got writing credit for that. Sometimes you did. I mean, Apollonia claims she did that to some extent with "Take Me with You" for "Purple Rain" with Prince, and a lot of the Prince fans lash back at her because they're still under the impression that Prince played and wrote every single note on every single song and every single album, and he didn't. That's besides the point, and I don't know if she did or she didn't, but that's a legitimate. And so top lining, I mean, this is huge in the industry now, huge. Most of the stuff you hear on the radio came from top liners. I doubt if Kendrick Lamar top lines, and as I said, Taylor Swift rarely top lines, but most of these folks are doing top lines. And hey, it's working, but I had to, make that connection, with top lining going back to the doo-wop. So that's thing one. Thing two, the Rolling Stones. I mentioned, I think when I did duels and branding the Rolling Stones off of the Beatles. And I gave the Stones kudos for when the Beatles really had that massively great run in the late 60s, from Rubber Soul on, and had all those great albums. The Stones, put a lot of country songs on their album at the time. And the best, the most popular one being Honky Tonk Woman. And I've always been kind of like, because, but the way the Stones did it, I mean, you're like, is that is that country western or is that Robert Johnson? Because Robert Johnson, was a blues guy on an acoustic guitar, and this, back when Robert Johnson started, it was all, it was kind of, it was like, rock and roll in the 54, 55, 56. Well, there wasn't a lot of difference between Fats Domino and say Jackie Wilson. You know, uh, Jackie ended up being soul. Fats is considered more rock than soul. But you could put Jerry Lee Lewis in there. I mean, and so when Robert Johnson is doing his recordings, he's doing similar recordings to country, and then blues and country, branch off and do their own thing. But I respected, because the Stones went back, and to the, I mean, and covered and very well in their early albums some of the blues classics. So they didn't go to that. Well, when it comes to the blues and classic rock. I mean, the Rolling Stones is the second generation. Them and the Doors, and as I said, the Who and the Beatles were more rockabilly inspired. And I say that because rockabilly was the second generation that was not going back to the roots, and that was the early country folks. And the Stones went back. When they decided they were gonna hit that side of the classic rock tree, they went back to the roots, and I like that. I think I'm trying to think of Roy Orbison was rockabilly. Elvis was rockabilly, and that's who the Beatles and Pete and the Who emulated. But the Stones were like, y'all can do this second generation. I'm going back to the founders, and so yeah, I like that about the Stones. Finally, my tribute to the Go-Go's. They put out 3 albums. The first two were really good. The last one, because the drug use was so-so. But they laid the foundation for, pop punk and really changed punk in many ways. It was pop, but it was still really raw and rebellious. That that pop punk, in my opinion, is kind of lost a little bit. They the final the old saying was if you knew five guitar chords you knew too many chords to be in a punk band, and that's not the case anymore. But that transition from you know you know from the intricate rhythm guitar chord playing that you hear today in punk, even in more hardcore punk, not seriously hardcore, but pop punk and that middle punk is there's a lot of really intricate rhythm guitar playing, with notes and chords, and the Go Go's were the first to do that, and they had two great guitarists, and like the Beatles, I mean one guitarist, in the Beatles' case, John Lennon would play the rhythm guitar, which is, repetitious, and the other one would play a another rhythm guitarish site type run, but would leave it a little bit and improvise. And that's kind of what Pete Townsend was of the Who was famous for as well. But what the Go Go's also brought is that really gnarly, nasty bass, and I don't know even know how you know what a great, if you're a punk fan of punk music, what great great sound of the tone, but the style play of a great punk drummer, and the Go Go's had all four of those: a great bass player with the tone and the playing style, two great guitarists, and great bass, and obviously Belinda Carlisle is a great lead singer as well. So just giving them their props. They did get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There's not many groups in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with only released 3 albums, but they are very deserving. Um, yeah, I think that's all I have. So anyway, let me hit this close. So uh, thank you for coming through. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I got 6 albums of my own. I record under the name Exodus, Exodus. I also write science fiction, fantasy novels. I have 2 novels in novella on Amazon. I write under the name Peter Exodus O'Coffer. So thank you again for coming through, and I will see you next episode.